My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California.
All right, it is currently Thursday, July 25th, 2024. It's currently 5:55 a.m., an excellent time. I remain at third-party facilitating venue TOWNPLACE Suites by Marriott, which is located in Monrovia, California. Let me go ahead and put on the record again, just to speak to the fact that I remain at the same address, which is relevant to what is a crime scene. Everywhere that I am located is the identification of the crime scene, and the P.O.C. provides the foundational evidence supporting that. This is surveillance, and so this is revealing through the unnatural environment, which is demonic, provides the evidence of what is the crime scene, where the state, the government, with the people of the state who are shown to be the government, engaging in a malicious system of surveillance. It is terrorism, it's a sex offense, it's corporate invasion of privacy, all the aspects of sexual violence, and all the aspects of what is demonic methods of harassment by the government, the demonic methods of terrorism by the government, and the demonic methods of intimidation and threatening your life while they are criminally surveilling you. And so this is occurring under the malicious guise of that which is very easy to identify the people of the state who will be prosecuted, including going to federal prison. Not only the third-party group stalking employees of TOWNPLACE Suites by Marriott, who are engaging in what is harassment as an entity, while the demon-possessed, whom they are checking in and out of hotel rooms, engaging in the state's criminal pattern of conduct at the venue located at 102 West Huntington Drive in Monrovia, California, 91016. This is at the intersection of Myrtle Avenue and Huntington in Monrovia, California, where the entity is keeping a fake sun. That is the light source. This is, again, an outright abandon, a grand departure from that which is supposed to be the sun, okay, where Satan would, the people, the government would like to establish or contend, rather, that that's the natural environment, that it's the paranoid schizophrenic claim that there's a so-called fake sun, that there's so-called fake sunlight, I'll even put it in such terms, and that there's any sort of stalking, including in helicopters and whatnot. This is why you document Satan, okay? Not only because Satan is a liar, prosecution is based on facts and evidence, and the facts and evidence establish beyond a reasonable doubt, by the way, that number one, the government is engaged in what is a demonic system of surveillance in violation of existing constitutional laws, state and federal. In addition to the fact that based on its demonic nature, this is providing the groundwork for what is a never before contemplated, even the fact that the state government is engaged in criminal surveillance, that's never before contemplated criminal conduct by the state. All right, never before proven, if you will, and proven beyond a reasonable doubt in every aspect of that crime committed by the government. Not only the crime, but also the conspiracy that's inherent to the crime. The fact that the government is engaging in criminal surveillance in concert with the constituents of the state, and every constituent, no matter who they are, irrespective of personal identification, which is a fallacy regarding the ability to prosecute the state for engaging in group stalking. And this is, again, much of the false premises upon which the entity seeks to criminally defame a target individual, to engage in the misidentification of the crime of group stalking, is to individualize the crime. Group stalking has nothing to do with the ability to recognize the perpetrator, to identify specifically the government actor or the particular group stalker, or be able to discern the fact that they're demon possessed. None of that is the prosecution for group stalking. None of it. The context, the greater context, which becomes legally relevant because the government is keeping you criminally under surveillance, is the fact that every aspect of the pattern of conduct is demonic. And because the government is, based on evidence, that supports it, that proves it, engaging in criminal surveillance, by virtue of the fact that it's engaging in surveillance, that's terrorism, and it is an intensified prosecution because the government is engaging in surveillance and doing so via demonic methods, which are inherently designed to terrorize an American citizen, inherently designed to harass, and that's on a 24-hour basis. This is inherently designed to cause one to psychologically suffer, to torture, to harass to an unfathomable degree. This is not ordinary harassment. This is harassment by everyone, everywhere, including through the unnatural environment, which is maintained by the demon possessed, who engage in supernatural behaviors while outwardly seeking to appear and conduct themselves, which is unpersuasive, where you are aware of the specific environment and the malicious pattern of conduct by the demon possessed. That's no longer persuasive. So you're removing the superficial veil where group stalking is underway. You're aware of the demonic environment where group stalking is underway. And then you are prosecuting for that terrorizing system that a population practices with the government under the malicious appearance of what's supposed to be free society in the state of California in the United States. And so federal group stalking and monitoring is terrorism by the state, and it is also that which is done necessarily. The government cannot do it. The state government cannot accomplish federal group stalking and monitoring without the people of the state. And so without the people of the state that are working at the crime scene, that is TOWNPLACE Suites by Marriott, without the people of the state that are maintaining presence all around TOWNPLACE Suites by Marriott, without the people of the state that are coming onto the grounds and maintaining presence in the third-party facilitating venue of TOWNPLACE Suites by Marriott, the government cannot engage in and continue this system of criminal surveillance. And that criminal engagement, which is referred to as facilitation, any act of terrorism where you are providing, in other words, Osama bin Laden with the bombs with which he will blow up American citizens, you will be held liable for that murder, mass murder, which is an act of terrorism in the U.S., by virtue of providing that weapon to that terrorist. You are also the terrorist providing the weapons to that terrorist that is identified by name. The state of California is acting with and via the people of the state. The state of California is filled with government actors that are exhibiting the same demon possession, employing the same demonic methods, and relying on the demonic behaviors and demonic and criminal activity. This is no private act of expression of religious rights, not where you are engaging in criminal conduct. The government's engaged in criminal surveillance, so it's not the exercise of any religious right. It's also the outside of the bounds of exercise of any religious rights, because the people of the state are stripped of any constitutional claim to be exercising privacy rights. You are not in the shoes of an individual protected by any constitutional provisions. You are in the shoes of the state in the specific environment, which is where the state is stalking. You're in the shoes of the state when you're engaging in the demonic behavioral pattern, the identical behavioral pattern that the state is exhibiting while it is group stalking. You are not exercising any privacy rights whatsoever. It is therefore a federal offense, a series of federal offenses, while you continuously report to work, maliciously engaging in federal group stalking and monitoring. It is therefore a series of federal offenses when you are coming to the hotel, maliciously engaging in state surveillance to torment, terrorize, sexually offend, and violate, and harass while demon possessed, legally relevant, and engaging in state surveillance with the government. Okay, this is an ongoing, let me be clear, federal group stalking and monitoring is the conspiracy to murder and or kidnap permanently, unlawfully by the state in either in a facility where the entity will kidnap and criminally defame, such a medical facility, or in the facilities where the entity is charging you with a crime or something, where the people of the state that are engaging in state surveillance, that is any sheriff's department, are criminally maintaining you, kidnapping you permanently upon abuse of their positions. That is necessarily done in concert with the corrupt courts, where I've shown the pattern of conduct remains underway. This is understanding how the state engages in why it, at the outset, federal group stalking and monitoring begins, and the ultimate objective, which is to kidnap, if not permanently discard, that American citizen. This is no small thing, where the demons are engaging in harassment like they are inside of TOWNPLACE Suites, where criminal summoning at 6:04 a.m. is underway. Everybody working at TOWNPLACE Suites by Marriott is going to federal prison. They are working at a crime scene where state surveillance is maintained. This is already shown. The fake sun is no longer over Alvarado Gardens, which would never be the sun. That's why it's referred to as a fake sun. It's present for in excess of 12 hours, which is shown as beyond a reasonable doubt. It's fully shown for your eyes to see. And that's why I went through a series of months of documenting the specific environment. And as I left that particular address, which is nothing other than headquarters for Federal Group Stalking and Monitoring, that entire apartment complex, Alvarado Gardens, which are the people of the state, the same entity that is filling this hotel, the same people of the state, the same entity vicariously acting with the entity that you just heard engaging in criminal conduct against its criminal co-conspirator, placing them in federal prison. And this is the criminal act that you will prosecute where the government is engaging in the system of surveillance, which is an act of terrorism that I just experienced while I'm documenting on a podcast. The entity is engaging in group stalking pursuant to Title 18 criminal conduct as well, knowing exactly everything that I'm saying, everything that I am doing, including on a communication device, which is a violation of existing federal law. That is Title 18, Section 22618, subsections 1 and 2. You also know this beyond a reasonable doubt because not only is the pattern of the entity that is exhibiting demon possession, practicing the elements of monitoring, that is light activity creation, audible activity creation, and relevant positioning, that is maintaining presence in that demonic environment where you are monitoring. Okay, that's what the government's doing. There's no constitutional basis for the government to monitor you. Monitor it, understand what that is, greater context, it's surveillance. The government is engaging in criminal surveillance. So the entity is doing so with knowledge of including what you're doing on the internet, on communication devices, which the government, remember, is with regard to federal group stalking and monitoring, the people of the state is the government. The United States seeks to criminally surveil American citizens maliciously through the very constituents of the state who are supposed to appear as free citizens, substantially similar in position and status as the target individual. That's malice. They are not. They're engaging in the elements of monitoring. You will see through their behavior, which is not a coincidence in the specific environment, through the maintenance of presence in that specific environment, through the ongoing facilitating conduct and the facilitating acts of harassment, the facilitating acts of terrorism, while they are not coincidentally acting in conformity to the state's pattern of conduct. Like I said, the government does not have a leg to stand on in federal court. So the government is already prosecuted. I stated years ago what the objective is, the prosecution of the people of the state, because the world needs to recognize what Satan is doing, what Satan is doing here maliciously in the U.S., wanting to appear on the world scene as though we are a free society. We actually are not. And not only is this surveillance by the government in America, it's demonic. So this is the work of Satan, and it's occurring in the U.S. And as I stated on my podcast and in video years ago, the people of the state will be prosecuted as I established and surrounded the government with the insurmountable evidence of the fact that it is engaged in criminal surveillance. And that's why you see the identical pattern of conduct no matter where I go. The entity is engaging in the exact same template. Stalking in helicopters, stalking by the state using emergency vehicles like you just heard, using sirens, the more damning, okay, the more persuasive it is. In other words, the more fearful that the demons are, to put it raw, okay? The more fearful that the demons are while they're monitoring me and keeping me under surveillance, they will immediately engage in it becomes legally relevant. The demons will engage in monitoring. So they'll sound sirens, they'll sound helicopter activity. The entity will engage in sensational or activity creations in methods where you are identifying the state. That is the use of sirens, you're associating that with the state. The sound of helicopters, you're associating that with the state. This is the state's pattern of conduct. The entity will do the same regarding the people of the state while they are engaging in the same criminal system. It is that which is associated with the quote unquote citizens. That is the harassment that is subject to what is criminal conduct, because everything that's occurring is called audible activity. The entity, first of all, is demon possessed. So I'm going to charge TOWNPLACE Suites by Marriott by virtue of the fact that they have filled this venue with demons who are sexually perverted, psychotic, and obsessed while they're group stalking and want to appear as though they're ordinary consumers, patrons in a hotel, exercising their free right to be here. And all of that is malarkey. And it is not only is it malarkey, it's established beyond a reasonable doubt what the people of the state are doing and who they're doing it with. That's why, by the way, a fake sun remains over this hotel for the duration of the day, as I established on July 22nd, 2024. The fake sun is over me as I'm standing in the parking lot of this venue at approximately 11 o'clock in the morning. Don't forget the fake sun is over my head at a series of venues, including the Ovid Family Community Library in Ontario, California. As I'm documenting day to day, what am I doing in 2022? In 2021, there's a body of evidence what the entity was doing, following me around with an unnatural environment while demons. That's how you know what they are and what they're doing. They're following me around, their group stalking. This is state surveillance of a demonic nature. So the entity, not only that, but as I remain at an apartment complex, this is stripping down what the state is doing. Not only is this not a private residence, this is not a private residence full of single family homes. In other words, this is not the privacy rights being exercised by a company that's running a property management business. To the contrary, this is the government that's maliciously acting in concert and via the people of the state in order to maintain the elements of monitoring, which is the system of surveillance. And it also occurred in the workplace. And at 11 o'clock, there's a fake sun through my leasing office window, which is over the hillside, over the top of my head, seen through the windows of the vehicles parked at Alvarado Gardens Apartments in Los Angeles. It's over the top of my head while I'm at my apartment, which was at 1806 North Alvarado Street in Los Angeles, California. It's seen outside of the living room window while I stay inside of my apartment at 1806 North Alvarado Street in Los Angeles, California, facing the hillside. There is no possible way that the sun would be over TOWNPLACE Suites by Marriott at 11 o'clock or at any time of the day at all, based on what the entity is already tethered to. This is why you document Satan. This is why you document the government that is criminally surveilling you and acts to maliciously, falsely depict you as paranoid as suffering from paranoid schizophrenia, when they are indeed targeting you and wanting to, again, either you result in discarding yourself, committing suicide, I'm going to put it plainly, or being suffering homicide, where you're murdered by, let me be clear, no anonymous crime. The people of the state are the ones who murder you, and the state itself that's targeting you are the ones that control the narrative. But the people of the state reporting the news about this unsolved crime, about this person that was so beloved or troubled, however they want to depict that target individual, once they are gone and permanently silenced, and no one knows anything about federal group stalking and monitoring. That in and of itself, by virtue of engaging in federal group stalking and monitoring, is an intolerable threat. It is no small thing, the fact that I remain inside of my hotel room at a facilitating venue, subject to an unfathomable level of a sex offense, subject to corporate invasion of privacy by the government, who engages in the pattern of communicating a threat by virtue of presence, engaging in any of the elements of monitoring, while it's engaged in ceaseless Title 18 criminal conduct, while it is doing so in concert with the people who are being documented. The people being documented is the government being documented. And while I'm subject to this, the entity is at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, while the demon-possessed are engaging in criminal surveillance, which is easily provable and readily subject to a prosecution, literally by your date of check-in, your payment methods, the use of your key cards, your presence on surveillance cameras. The government that is filling these hotel rooms and working at this hotel is surrounded by a body of evidence. And you're going to be prosecuted. You do not have a constitutional protection in sight. This is not different from what the terrorist organization, the LAPD, practiced since my date of employment with speaker companies officially in July of 2023. I began working with speaker companies, however, in March of 2023. I was hired on permanently and relocated to Alvarado Gardens in July of 2023. And since relocation to Los Angeles, that is what the terrorist organizations are doing. These demon-possessed and corrupt law enforcement agencies, they are the first layer of the state's criminal system. It's permanent. This is speaking to the fallacy, the illusion of probable cause and reasonable suspicion. They're stalking. They know exactly what you're doing. They know where you're at. So the entity is engaging in masquerading as a law enforcement agency governed by constitutional, local, state, and federal laws, which they are not actually abiding by, and the pattern of conduct is the evidence of that. They are also speaking to and revealing the criminal conduct that I remain subject to while I am inside of a private space. The fact that TOWNPLACE Suites by Marriott is a third-party facilitating venue does not under any circumstances remove the status of the location where the target individual remains. And remember, I'm not doing anything other than articulating the legal standards whereby the state will be prosecuted. So the state will be prosecuted as the violent sex offender that it is. The state includes the people of the state. And like any other sex offender, when you are prosecuted, say you're a sex offender and you have minor children, you will find yourself now separated from those minor children based on your criminal activity, the threat that is inherently posed by virtue of your contact with said children. It's not going to be different when the terrorists are prosecuted for federal group stalking and monitoring. The same is with regard to the punishment, including deportation, including removal from any government positions that they currently hold, removal from any industries where they pose a threat to the public, such as the medical field. Such as the legal profession, such as law enforcement, okay? Such as, let me be clear, demons that have access to pilot license, they're flying commercial planes, they are flying helicopters outside of the terrorist organizations, they have access to pilot license where they're also stalking in helicopters. The entity is also doing so while they are engaging in the pattern of conduct, working in the public, driving public transportation. I have heavily documented the pattern of conduct terrorism that I'm subject to while demons are driving school buses. They're driving public transportation, metro. You've seen it over and over again. Metro, the LA line, is a documented group stalker, engineer light, stalking in helicopter, all of the above captured. That's nothing other than a commercial means of documenting the same terrorist system. Wanting to appear maliciously here in America, we want to appear as though we're all about the almighty dollar. We're out here living our life the way we want, however we want it. We're obsessed and absorbed in social media, and everyone's going about their business. Everyone's a demon-possessed criminal surveiller. That's actually what's going on in California. And they want everyone else to be consumed with the notion that we're making the most money, living the best lives, out here doing whatever it is that our hearts desire. And that's an illusion. Okay, there is obsessive surveillance that's going on. And this is the spiritual reality. Okay, besides the carnal illusion that's being presented by the demon possessed. This is entirely deliberate. So understand where I'm going. I'm speaking to the spiritual, and I'm also speaking to the natural, what you see, which is very deceptive. Okay, so the entity is engaging in this conduct, and while I'm inside of room 417, where the entire state knows where I'm located, and that's why, again, you have the specific environment that is speaking to knowledge. You don't have any way to escape. I'm laughing not because it's funny. I'm laughing because the government, you're literally surrounded with the evidence. The entity knows exactly where I'm at. That's why the fake sun is here. That's why you also see the signature of the engineer light. The entity provided to its own demise. Again, this is the psychotic and inept, woefully unprepared entity that provides evidence against itself. Okay? The fingerprint of demon possession and criminal surveillance. The engineered light that's filling the TOWNPLACE Suites by Marriott venue. And then you want to appear as though you're anything other than, again, this is what nobody is persuaded, and nor do you have a legally relevant argument for the prosecution you will face. And the people of the state act as one. So no matter how uneducated, no matter how I don't even want to say oppressed because you're oppressing the target individual, no matter how, I would say, far down the economic bracket you are. So say you're making $30,000 a year versus the people of the state, somebody that's making $350,000 a year. You need to understand with regard to the people of the state, they are the same entity. The people of the state would like, and Satan himself would like for you in your mind to create a superficial distinction between the two, and actually has nothing to do with the nature of the person, with who it is they are at their core, with their predisposition to be a demon-possessed group stalker. And that's what's legally relevant. They're in the same specific environment. They're exhibiting the same demon possession. One, however, may be far less educated, far less concerned with the resources that they may lose. They don't have anything to lose. And so this is also where you're understanding somebody like TOWNPLACE Suites by Marriott, you have a lot of money to lose, a lot. And what you engage in, the rest of the people of the state engage in as well. And I'm going to tax them as well. This is not about a lottery. This is not about my needing money. This is about a threat to my life and the right to not be subject to it. And being advanced in the practice of law, the ability to enforce your rights, and the customary means of justice that are at your disposal when you have been violated, including by the government, in such unfathomable ways, such as maliciously with the constituents of the state. There's plenty of ways where you can extract justice, and it will start with the pockets. And that's just a matter of justice, like I stated. So you'll have the uneducated, those that don't have much to lose, they get back in their buckets, okay? And forgive me because do not be confused by the way that I am describing the demon possessed. Okay. And now there is obviously no measure of a person, the value of your soul based on what you drive or who you are. But I'm talking about Satan's minions right now that are engaging in egregious criminal activity. Okay. And it is in every way despicable. So that disgust, you will hear it expressed in literally the tone of my voice and the words I use to describe them. So a minion that is driving their 1973 Buick has nothing to lose. And they will engage in impunity. Will exaggerate the criminal conduct that they engage in on behalf of everyone else. Everyone else is going to suffer such consequences. This is how you prosecute group conduct, by the way. This is how you prosecute the government that acts through the people. And that conspiracy, by the way, is already established, not only through the behavioral pattern, through the pattern within the pattern. As I document the people, so arrives the state, trying to threaten, intimidate, and harass. That's no ordinary criminal act either. The government is a terrorist and engages in more terrorism as you document the terrorists who are the people of the state. That is establishing also, reasonably construed as, that which is a pattern speaking to real-time knowledge. So you know exactly what I'm doing as I'm doing it. Not only have I already stated that, I've provided the evidence supporting it. The entity is engaging in conduct with real-time knowledge of any and everything that I do, including as I enforce my rights and document the entity. In the same way, when the entity is engaging in very foolish conduct, that will cost another an arm and a leg. And I'm talking about third parties such as TOWNPLACE Suites by Marriott. The entity is engaged in harassment as an entity while demons at 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning that are not sleeping, that are aware of my every move that I make, every time I open my eyes, every time I blink, every time my legs are open and I'm in the restroom, turning on the shower like you witnessed on video yesterday, which was the day before yesterday now, which was July 23rd, 2024. Every move that I make, that's relevant to the sex offense that you're subject to. The unlawful and unfathomable level of invasion of privacy, which the federal government has never before contemplated, because it's never been proven, shown, established that the government is indeed engaged in surveillance, is monitoring. Remember, the word monitoring is relevant. I only use the term surveillance because you need to understand I'm just putting it in simple terms. The government is watching everyone everywhere. Okay. And the ones that don't have a problem with it is because they're engaging in surveillance with the government. And this is Satan's illusion presenting, they're free citizens in a free state, and a law-governed state where they are respecting the so-called God-given rights of so-called American citizens. This is the illusion that's put forth here in America. Nonetheless, the laws are on the books, and I'm going to enforce them. And so my government apparently does not respect them, but they're very real, and I'm going to engage in a very real federal prosecution. So I just want to put that out there. But the government itself, this is the masquerade that the government is hiding behind in order to appear one way. That is a weapon. It's a weapon against those that are in this country that do not know what's actually going on, and also abroad, so that we appear one way when actually we are entirely different, which is relevant to the ways in which we are targeting what Satan is doing across the globe using the corrupt government. I have documented the veterans. I've documented the military group stalking. I've documented those with federal plates even. I've documented, let me be clear, the United States Postal Service, that's relevant. That's an aspect. That's a grade of the federal level, by the way. And I also want to point out, while I'm moving my hands and speaking, the demon that is directly above is creating ongoing audible activity. That is analogous to what the entity was documented engaging in on the 22nd of July. That is stalking in a helicopter. And then as I continue to capture what the entity will learn to do, and that is through being sentenced to years in federal prison. That is being sentenced to permanent removal from your company from existence. And that's based on the crime that company engaged in, and also the civil prosecution of said companies, and also the criminal record that will be maintained by the DOJ, so that the fact that you're a prosecuted terrorist is known nationwide, and the means whereby you will be subject to the ability for American citizens to know where it is that you want to move, where you intend to move into a neighborhood. You don't have the right to just move into any neighborhood anymore. You don't have the right to just get any job that you think you're qualified for anymore because of the public safety concern that you pose, and the mental illness that is manifest through the demon possessed. The demon possessed engage in sexually violent terrorism. They engage in terroristic behavioral patterns for no legitimate reason. They don't have to have a reason to terrorize American citizens. This mental illness, which is, I'm letting you know what it is demon possession. But again, with regard to mental illness and the ways in which any and everyone can recognize demon possession, the outward demonstration of it, the decision making, the behavioral patterns, the personality disorder, the mindset that's inherently deranged. And that is, again, how do you know that? Because of what they're doing and what they continue to do and what is necessarily wrong with the mind that will continue to do that. That's referred to as the mental illness that is caused by demon possession. And that is what is animating the people of the state. So the entity, the demon that is above, this is amplification of audible activity. But I also want to point out the fact the demon possessed engaged in the method of amplification, which is demonic. Regardless of, even if the hotel room was empty above me, the entity engages in the act of terrorizing by stalking with audible activity. It's supposed to appear as though there's a person that's in the hotel room, and this ongoing incessant noise that's occurring with my physical movement, occurring with my physical hand movement inside of a room where nobody's physically around me. But you also know the greater context, the fake sun, the engineered light, the stalking by the state, both, as you heard, by sirens. That's criminal summoning. It's nothing less than that. It's the admission by the state, evidence against the people, literally. The entity stalking by helicopter, the ongoing hallmark of the P.O.C. It is literally the state's signature. Yes, we're group stalking the target individual. Literally every time I captured video, the demons of the LAPD were saying amen. Every time I spoke truth, what did they do? They arrived in helicopter. And I told you what's the meaning of that. You can literally take that as Satan saying amen every time I let you know what they were doing. Okay. And they would arrive in video. So the entity is doing the exact same thing. I'm just inside of a hotel room. This is a demon whose criminal presence is evidenced through the use of key cards on surveillance cameras, through their date of check-in and check-out, with knowledge of who I am. Understand, the demon that is on them knows who I am. That's why you have the concerted activity creation in sync with my physical movement. All right. And so that's terrorism. That's going to be relevant to the draining of the pockets. That's terrorism by an entity. And TOWNPLACE Suites by Marriott is going to pay me for it. Okay? That terrorism is a threat to your life. So you can have any ragamuffin, if you will, walk in and save their money because they get gratification as a demon terrorizing someone. Any sex offender with an actual criminal record as a sex offender can engage in the pattern of conduct with the state. This is what the demon possessed do. They engage in sexual violence, but I'll understand it's indiscriminate. The whole population is. And so you have those that are with a criminal record of a sex offender. You have those that are psychopaths. They're gratified by engaging and inflicting in demonic behaviors to terrorize another, to target another. And so you are making a distinction in your mind. Oh, this is different. She's got a newborn baby. Look at her long, beautiful brunette hair. Look at those beautiful blue eyes, that luscious skin, and look at her Michael Kors purse. That could never be, that has nothing to do with the demon that's on that minion. That is stalking me. That's the reality. That's the reality. So you are aware of the behavioral pattern, the specific environment, and that race. And what I just described is just one example. I'm just letting whatever randomly you think of, whatever you think is beautiful, whatever you think is impressive, whatever you think is maybe some language that they speak, it has nothing to do with it at all. They represent a vessel. Satan is using them, period. Not only that, they have the personality defects, the decision-making skills of a sex offender, of a terrorist, of an obsessed stalker. This is the reality of demon possession. This is occurring on the watch of a well-known, profitable business such as TOWNPLACE Suites by Marriott, who is engaging in criminal facilitation. That's why the light source is over this hotel for an excess of 12 hours. That's why engineered light fills the inside of this hotel. That's why demons are stalking with audible activity creation. The evidence of their presence also will be substantiated through the very business records of this venue. And any lowlife, and I want to be clear, you're a lowlife while you're stalking in a helicopter. You're a lowlife if you work at a movie studio and you make millions of dollars there. I don't care who you think you are. You're the same entity. Any lowlife, but I'm going to be specific now, any lowlife that doesn't make over $30,000, may not even have a job, could have stole money so that they can stay in the hotel and participate in group stalking because that demon in them gratifies pleasure from engaging in this demonic activity with the state, with the people. Just want to let you know about what's going on spiritually. And it is legally relevant because to be surrounded by, understand the P.O.C. So now you're understanding the greater context. There's no sun that's over Chase Bank at 1 o'clock in the afternoon when I step out Chase Bank on 1600 Vermont Avenue, where you saw LAPD flying in circles over my bank. That. Okay. And it's also not sunlight inside of that bank. As I showed you, that's the engineered light. You see the same pattern in my bedroom in Los Angeles at Alvarado Gardens. You see the same pattern in the hallway in this hotel in Monrovia, California, where, by the way, no traffic on Myrtle or Huntington. When I showed you video of the people of the state who are all demon possessed in there, including Arcadia the fire department, who voluntarily cross path, letting everyone know that that entire fire department is engaged in criminal surveillance. That's the unintelligent criminal conduct that the entity is engaging in. Their secret is out. And they engaged in conduct where you did not see a beam of light shooting up to that window in that hallway where you saw that engineer light moving all across the ceilings, right above my head. Nobody saw any light streaming upward into that window, right? That's not what's happening when they're driving on the roads. There's no light that's ricocheting from the top of your car back up into that window, causing any shape of the windows to move across the ceiling inside of the hallway here in this hotel. But that's what I'm capturing when I'm in the hotel. And it's relevant about who's around me and who's physical movement that is demonic pacing, where you're looking in the natural at people driving cars. In the spirit, you're looking at demons who are pacing. And they're stalking as one, and they know exactly where I'm at and what I'm doing. That terrorism is what I'm subject to inside of room 417, which TOWNPLACE Suites by Marriott. You are engaging in what is a fully supported pattern of conduct, and also the fact that you are demon possessed working at the hotel on behalf of the state. I'm going to prosecute you for that terrorism. The fact that you are permitting demons to monitor and group stalk with you in this hotel while they're engaging in necessarily corporate invasion of privacy to stalk with audible activity creation, while very likely having nothing to live for and could not care less about the fact that I'm going to tax you for that. In addition to the fact that you're going to federal prison. I'm going to drain the pockets of the company, and then the employees are going to federal prison, because just like you heard, criminal summoning, when you are remaining in a hotel like I am, which is a private space, this is an egregious sex offense where a population's invading privacy together, where you are for no reason obsessed with one person and you're all demons. This is not a horror film. This is real life. This is what the state of California is doing. So the entity is doing so and engaging in more psychotic behaviors. The more that I document, the more that I review evidence, which is directly pointing to and prosecuting the entity that's group stalking now while I'm in Monrovia, while they listen to me review evidence, while they are watching what I'm watching on my phone, watching what I'm watching on my laptop, listening to everything that I state about all the ways in which, I'm going to prosecute you for that. When I'm reviewing my evidence, the entity's listening. And the demons engage in real-time reactions, as I've called it throughout the body of my evidence. Satan engages in a real-time reaction. We'll engage in something reminiscent, sounding like the demon above, engaging in jumping jacks, or like your jumping rope. This is at 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. Real-time reactions regarding what Satan is listening to as it is listening to it. That's a psychopath also. That's costing everybody else money, costing everybody else time in federal prison. Don't forget what speaker companies of Palo Alto is going through. They're going to federal prison. I walked away from that job. I walked away from that property, and everybody's going to federal prison. That conspired to take my life by virtue of being a group stalker with the state. Don't forget, this is the exact same criminal conduct that they were engaging in as an employer and as a resident at a property where I was the manager there. This is the same criminal system. So fools engage in criminal conduct against their criminal co-conspirators. Not only are you going to suffer, but so is everybody else. That's justice, however. It's providence, where the entity is surrounded by the evidence of its own criminal conduct. And what your neighbor is doing is what you're doing. And you're doing it on behalf of your neighbor, is the one that owns $1 million, billion-dollar business. And by the way, your neighbor could not care less, because of the demon that's on them, how much money it's going to cost you. While you're both losing in your demonic endeavor to group stalk somebody that doesn't know what's going on, and that is under any circumstances unprepared to prosecute you and expose you. This is the reality of what the demonic are doing on an ongoing basis. The amplification increases as I document. You heard the entity engaging in criminal summoning based on the words that I was speaking. So as you review this evidence, recall whatever pivotal point I was making at that time. That is what the entity is listening to and is fearful of, while it yet engages in an act of terrorism, which is telling on the people of the state who are going to pay me for that act of terrorism. Remember, it's a threat to your life when you hear sirens. The entity is always stalking, police vehicles stalking you from place to place, and they want to look like they're doing so. Oh, they're sounding their sirens because they're not going anywhere. They maintain presence around me all day, all night, 24/7, sounding their sirens with simultaneity to whatever it is I do. Those same demons that utilize sirens, they've engaged in previous acts of kidnapping and arriving just to harass me. The very sound of sirens in the specific environment, even with simultaneity to what I do or say, including while I'm even physically nude, they're all sexually violent and criminal acts to intimidate and threaten my life and liberty. Yes, I'm going to charge TOWNPLACE Suites by Marriott for all the harms that I continue to suffer, tangible and or intangible. This is how you are prosecuting every aspect of that entity that is targeting and tormenting and terrorizing you outside of any constitutional protections. So I just want to make sure, I wanted to have this discussion because this is what the entity has been doing. I have been here, I believe, as of July 22nd. And it is currently July 25th, 22nd, 23rd, yes, since the 22nd. And so as of the 23rd, every morning when I wake up, all of the entity is engaged. Remember, this isn't traffic. The fact that you work at Citizens Bank across the street is not evidence to support the fact that you're in traffic and you're going to your job at Citizens Bank. No, it is criminal. It's evidence of criminal presence. The government is engaging in a system whereby all of the people of the state, no matter where they are ready and capable of engaging in the demonic pattern of conduct. So where I happen to be at an intersection in a hotel, which becomes a crime scene, the fact that the fake sun is over me at this hotel and you're working across the street, that's criminal presence. Where your job is, honey, let me be clear, or sir or ma'am, that's evidence of criminal presence. You don't have constitutional protections. This is the government's system, nor is personal identification of that terrorist necessary, or the terrorist's ability to specifically deny or affirm whether they know the target individual's name. It's not even legally relevant. The government is engaging in a system. This is also what's relevant to the terrorism that is experienced when the entity sounds sirens, when the entity amplifies audible activity, when demons engage in what is amplifying stalking with audible activity that is amplified in volume with regard to your real-time capture of evidence. Psychopaths. Not only are you literally going to federal prison, you literally require mental examinations based on your highly deranged mindset and your poor decision-making skills that is resulting in the terrorism of another. You're also engaging in conduct which is showing to be very costly to the rest of the entity that's acting with you. This is, again, as I've stated, in every way, when you're understanding how you're prosecuting the entity, they're engaging in criminal conduct to each other's demise. I am not a criminal. This is why I went to college and law school. But I want to tell you what I do have a lot of common sense. And if I ever sought to engage in, which I never would, but if I ever sought to engage in some criminal enterprise, and this person would have to be, because I wouldn't do it with a large group. I would never do this, ever. I would never do this. It's so, like I said, any low life, nobody with nothing to lose can engage in the P.O.C. and everybody's going to suffer that impunity. So you have they don't even care about the fact that they're going to federal prison because maybe they just got out of jail for serving a 15-year sentence. And they probably want to go back because they can't get a job. Nobody will hire them. And you get a steady meal and a blanket in jail. Okay, this is the mindset of those that have been, this is a group stalker. Those that are with a criminal record of being a rapist, those with a criminal record of being pedophiles, those with a criminal record of engaging in white collar crimes, those that are engaging that have criminal records of engaging in burglaries or robberies, or those that are gangbangers, whatever it is that you attribute in your mind to being quote unquote bad people, they're group stalking. They're group stalking with the people of the state, those that you are looking at on the surface, which is, again, totally legally irrelevant. They're working at the hotel, don't have anything, no blemishes on their criminal record. They don't have a criminal record, and they're group stalking the same. You are making, and Satan wants you to have some distinction in your mind regarding the difference in status between the two, and there is none. They're the people of the state, and it's a threat to me because Those are the ones that are targeting me. One has even less, they don't care about anything. They have nothing to lose. Others are perhaps concerned about going to federal prison. Others are perhaps concerned about the fact that where am I going to work now after Erica Spencer prosecutes me? Where am I going to live? What's going to happen with my kids after Erica Spencer prosecutes me? What am I going to do? I can't go back to law enforcement after Erica Spencer prosecutes me. I can't even bear a weapon, which you won't. You will not. You can't even buy a plastic gun from Toys R Us. You will not be anywhere near any weapons after I prosecute you. So the entity is engaging in conduct with those who have nothing to lose. That's the likes of those that are stalking at 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning. Remember, the entity is already monitoring me, watching television, me moving around, living, even as I use the restroom, flush the toilet, run the water, take a shower. Audible, like all the elements are present. The entity goes to the extent to harass you as an entity. It's not just that demon that's doing jumping jacks and jumping rope in a hotel room, which, remember, it's amplified in volume. An ordinary hotel stay is quiet and peaceful and relaxing. Not so when the demon possessed are keeping you under surveillance. Not so when the demon possessed are living around you in an apartment complex. This is exactly what was documented at third-party facilitating venue Woodside Senior Apartments. This is exactly what was documented at third-party facilitating venue Alvarado Gardens. Much of the state's participation was documented at Alvarado Gardens, helping the people engage in terrorism, stalking in helicopters, telling on the people of the state. So you have those that are currently, temporarily wearing a badge with the LAPD. That terrorist organization is going to be, excuse my French, they're going to be ran through and they're going to federal prison. Everybody that set their tail in a helicopter, stalking in a helicopter, it's not going to be a mystery, and they're going to federal prison. They were helping the people engage in the elements of monitoring. Let's put it in the proper structure. The people of the state were helping the state, which is why the state was stalking at that apartment complex, flying around my apartment building, flying over my office, doing so as I just so happen to be in the process of documenting online the identical pattern of conduct. Identical. Okay, textbook P.O.C. At that, you're paying attention, big picture. I relocated to a new area. I never lived in Los Angeles before. And yet, I'm showing you the identical P.O.C. It is indeed a statewide system. It is indeed satanic, which is a whole other level for damages, recovery from being subject to the government's satanic methods, and also with regard to what is terrorism, because the government with an entire population is engaging in what is unconstitutional and inhumane methods of surveillance, where I am no such criminal under any circumstances, and I have all of my mind, which the P.O.C. fully establishes and corroborates. You're not able to document this P.O.C. You're not able to engage in such sentence structures if I'm walking around with anything less than all of my mind, which the people of the state, by the way, contend that you don't have. And that's called criminal defamation. You go to federal prison for that. And that's exactly what's going to happen, indiscriminate, whether I know you or not. It's the P.O.C. Understand the illusion that the entity acts with, because in the natural, you don't know that person's name. You're supposed to make the assumption, oh, well, they can't be stalking you because they don't even know you. That's not what group stalking is. Group stalking is demonic. They have the spirit of Satan on them. That demon knows exactly who you are. That's also how they're able to stalk you with audible activity creation. And what do I mean by stalk? Stalk it's literally the term group stalking. This is stalking by a group. The group happens to be the whole state of California. But stalking is a term of art with regard to the prosecution of the state. Stalking means to mirror, to follow, to occur with immediacy, with simultaneity. Demons stalk with noise. Demons stalk with light while they are stalking in your path. That's the demonic system of federal group stalking and monitoring. You can conjure up all kinds of methods of stalking with light, conjure up all kinds of methods of stalking with noise. That noise is amplified, which is demonic. That light activity is called impossible light activity very often, which is demonic. You are also looking at what is demonic also when you are thinking you're looking at the sun and sunlight all over everything. No, it's actually the same demonic, engineered, impossible light activity. It's not even the sun, as I've shown you that angle of the P.O.C. Everything is amplified in volume. And as I walk in my hotel room, like I said, it's not because of my weight. It's because the demons are engaging in what is facilitation. Everything is louder by virtue of hearing anything. Let me be clear. Even if the demons were hush, hush, and tried to not make a peep, which that's contrary to the nature of demons. Demons are chaotic, destructive, Okay, they are troubled on the inside, and this is why they engage in troublesome behavior on the outside. Okay, it's what's working on the inside of them, and it is literally shown through the elements of monitoring. It's demonic activity, but nonetheless, even if they, which they couldn't also because self-control is required, the demon-possessed don't have that, which is also speaking to a public safety concern, also relevant to civil and criminal recovery. But I'm going to digress. Even if the demons were able to compose themselves and be hush-hush, don't hear any traffic, don't hear any conversation, you don't hear any doors closing, nobody made a peep. Understand, I'm still prosecuting you. The same specific environment is present. My living, my existing is serving to monitor me. I have a right to not be subject to that. I can't watch TV without providing and aiding in the ongoing invasion of my privacy. It's the creation of audible activity. I'm watching TV, that's light activity. I'm moving around, I'm turning lights on and off, it's light activity. It's audible activity. It's relevant positioning. It's the elements of monitoring as I live and be and have my existence and wherever I'm at, it's serving to monitor me. But the entity goes beyond that. And psychotic, demon-possessed, sex-offending group stalkers, many of whom have nothing to lose, don't own any business, are not the chief of police of any police department, don't own or work or have any job that they rely on and probably want to try to keep, which is not going to happen. But I mean, those that don't have anything to lose, they're acting as one entity. And these are the harms. These are literally the casualties regarding engaging in group stalking, while a demon-possessed entity that never anticipated being caught, never anticipated the evidence of their criminal conduct being presented in a way that everyone can understand it and witness it, because it's demonic first and it's malicious second. The government that seeks to control a narrative and falsely depict an American citizen that it's targeting. The government never anticipated this. Satan, the demon-possessed, never anticipated this. So I just want to point that out. All of that malice, because that's what that is flipped on its head, and that will turn into civil recovery, which has never before been legislated, never before contemplated, because the government has never been prosecuted or proven, meaning this criminal system that has been underway for a long time, okay? I'm not the first person at all. I'm the first person to ever expose it and prosecute it. And not only that, I want you to see, I want to teach you what it looks like so you'll know, because it's not just about enforcing your legal rights. It's about knowing what Satan is doing, knowing how you are able to be aware about what's spiritually going on, especially to those who belong to the Lord Jesus Christ. He is your Lord and Savior. This is about persecution of the church. This is why it's also happening, so that you can see and you will know high-level deception, both in the unnatural environment and amongst people who do not want you to know that they have the spirit of Satan on them, and they hate your guts. They secretly despise you. They hate how you breathe. Okay, so the entity is engaging in this conduct and never anticipated the fact that it would be so thoroughly exposed. Not just a little exposed, I mean comprehensively exposed. That was not anticipated. That is the work of the Lord Jesus Christ. Just want to point that out to you. And while I remain subject to this, it is no small thing when the entity is engaging in audible activity that I can hear. It's a threat to your life. You're legally analyzing everything. It's audible activity creation on behalf of the state that relies on the people to maintain presence in audible activity and light activity. And it's occurring via traffic. Those are demons, millions of them, keeping me under surveillance while I stay at a hotel now. Okay, so like I said, even as I put that sentence structure together, you also, what also logically follows is, wow, there is no level of damages that can compensate a person for that level of harm. But again, justice requires, we're going to try. We're definitely going to address it. Justice requires it. Justice requires it. So like I said, it's a matter of principle. It's not a matter of me wanting anything. But the ordinary target individual, you have a right to want whatever it is that you want. I'm doing this because the audacity of this entity to do this and think this, I've witnessed when Satan thought that he was getting away with something. And I'm using the term Satan because that's exactly what this is. Satan has used people, police departments, who act with such unfathomable audacity because they were convinced that they were going to get away with it. They were convinced they were getting away with it. That audacity is what motivates me. You need to know, not only did I say then where they're going to federal prison. And if they don't repent, they're going to burn in the depths of hell if they do not repent. But beyond that, I told them, these are the consequences that you're going to suffer for this. Because it's been my purpose from the beginning. Not only am I going to prosecute you, I'm going to expose you so that everyone knows what's going on. No one you can't reasonably contend ignorance because it's out there. I'm putting it out there. So the entity is doing so, and doing so with unprecedented audacity. Understand that audacity is legally relevant. It's going to turn into dollars. It's going to turn into it's going to turn into time in federal prison. It's going to turn into all of those reverberating consequences, including loss of custody of your children that you pose a threat to. You pose a threat to children, period. This is what the demon-possessed don't even want you to know. They're having babies every day. They're in medical facilities around babies, delivering babies. They have contact with children who can't speak for themselves. Nobody knows about this psychotic mind state that they hide while they're engaging in the pattern of conduct. The pattern of conduct is nothing other than a means where I'm showing where the Lord Jesus is speaking to what Satan is doing in the land. And he's using people in all the ways in which the people of the state, as I've termed it with regard to identifying a prosecution, okay? But think greater than that. It's outside of the confines of just of a prosecution. This is just real life. This is what Satan is doing amongst those that they're in hospitals. They're around children. They have custody of children. They're literally raising and teaching children these things to terrorize other people, teaching them the ways of, you don't have a religious right to indoctrinate ways of terrorism. You don't have that right. That's not a religious right. No, you're indoctrinating terrorism. In the same way, if you express desire to come into this country in the U.S., you are expressly and impliedly agreeing to respect and abide by and advocate even the Constitution. Okay, the Declaration of Independence, these things, these so-called founding documents, they're significant. Okay, and even while the government blatantly disregards it, okay, and shows it to be the creation of a very malicious disguise regarding what's actually going on in this country and what's going on with this country and our relations with those abroad. There's so many implications, okay? But it's speaking to the times that we're in nonetheless. So the ability to identify what an entity is doing, okay, it's happening commercially. There's no respecter of persons. It doesn't matter if it's occurring under the guise of a business operating. Well, look at the elements, look at the specific environment, look at what the state is doing directly. Okay, that's what they're doing. You're just calling it a different business name. Satan is just hiding behind a logo. Okay, Satan will hide behind what you consider beautiful. Satan will hide behind what you consider unattractive. Satan will hide behind what you call some sort of attractive material wealth or position or status. Satan is using all of it. It's all deception. It's all a bunch of malarkey, as I like to say. It's all deception where there's a real-time agenda underway. And again, the P.O.C. is seeking, the P.O.C., which is the body of evidence, my podcast, my video, images, everything that I have with regard to it's literally evidence that's going to be presented in court against the government. And the government goes by the name of TOWNPLACE Suites by Marriott. It's the people of the state. The people of the state is state action occurring vicariously, wanting to appear as the distinction between the government and the people of the state. No, it's actually, they're one and the same. It's direct and vicarious conduct of the same condition, by the way. So there are many courses of action to take as a response when you're learning about what's going on in the country, what's going on in the state. There is a response there. And like I said, there's many policies that I advocate based on what it is that I've experienced, based on what it is that I see, that I know personally, because I lived through it. And now I am exposing it while enforcing my rights. There's no way you're going to do this to me and get away with it. But I'm just speaking beyond that. You're talking about there are things that need to change, that can change, that should change. And that's my stance with regard to Be mindful of what said police department is proposing regarding their desire to use X, Y, and Z weapons. Do you understand what they're doing with those weapons already? This is a whole illusion. They're already using them to your demise. And it's a threat to you in the future. And what I have endured is a testament to that. This is speaking to the malice of the entity that has a plan. It has an agenda, and they're systematically approaching what it is that they are intending to do. The state, the point at which they want us as a country, as a people, to get to in order to condition us to accept it, and also to condition us to be in a certain position where you won't have any so-called constitutional rights to contend with what are terrorist organizations. I'm letting you know that's not a law enforcement agency. That's a terrorist organization, and they don't want you to know it. They don't want you to know it. And that's actually what they're doing with these weaponry. That's a threat to your life, what they're doing in secret. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to digress. It's 6:54 a.m. It's July 25th, 2024, and I don't want it to be missed what it is that I'm discussing. This is all relevant to terrorism that I'm subject to, while demons, let me be clear. The reality is that no one in any room is going to be heard inside of my room. It's amplification. It's amplification. Nonetheless, they can put a 775 pound third party in there who, again, if they're 775 pounds, they're not up there doing jumping jacks. They're not up there doing the running man. They're not up there exercising. So you are clearly just engaging in activity creation, and it's a hostile demon that knows the substance of what I'm saying, knows the substance of what it is that I'm reviewing on my phone, pursuant to the pre-existing, the P.O.C is already established. You already know what they're doing. So now I'm just in a hotel, and it's still ongoing. And I can give this to you through, we can entertain any sort of scenario. We can shoot back, facts back and forth, hypotheticals, if you will, back and forth. And it's the P.O.C under all circumstances. But ordinarily, under normal circumstances where the state we're not engaging in demonic methods of activity creation, it is a relaxing state. You're not going to hear everybody walking all around everything that's going on. And then the entity also engages in a pattern of, as I happen to capture something very damning, for example, the act of criminal obstruction of justice by speaker companies that try to threaten my job while you're a terrorist, a third-party employer engaging in terrorism with demons that provided so much evidence against you stalking a helicopter. It is not even funny. It is sad. They're going to federal prison, the whole corporate office. So while the entity listens to that, they begin slamming doors in the hallways here in this hotel. Those are demons. Those are demons. It's also relevant because it's audible activity creation. I'm not just giving commentary. Oh, that's a demon. Yes, it's a demon, and it's relevant to the terror that I suffer. That's civilly and criminal prosecution. That's relevant. It's also audible activity creation. That's civilly and criminally. I'm going to prosecute you. Okay. While you're engaging in surveillance in a hotel, you're a psychopath. The fact that you go to that resort and that's all you're doing under the fake sun and an engineer light. Where the state, that's all you're doing. And the fact that you go to that length, like demons going to the length to engage in surveillance in a laundry room, the fact that you go to that length, that's terrorizing. That's really sick. That would scare someone. Why are you going to such far lengths to stalk me? Why are you doing that? That's beyond weird. I'm going to charge you for that. Civilly and criminally, I'm going to prosecute you. And whoever has the deepest pockets. Thus far, it's TOWNPLACE Suites by Marriott. Okay, for any and every lowlife that comes in here engaging in criminal conduct on behalf of the whole entity. Okay, providing ongoing corroboration about what the demons at Alvarado Gardens and everybody else that's already on the record. This is the exact same criminal system that they've been engaging in. This is how the entity prosecutes itself. While I'm on the 4th floor, and even while I'm on the 1st floor, you don't hear any traffic while I'm capturing video. But 3 floors above, you can hear amplified volume that's competing with the volume of my voice. This is how the entity is going to be prosecuted for what is openly engaging in terrorism. In the same way that you fly over the top of my head in planes and helicopters, openly engaging in terrorism. Like I said, this is the public safety concern. This is the requirement for mental institutions and federal prison for the entity that is engaged in the demonic methods of federal group stalking and monitoring, criminal surveillance, and the mental illness that is the product of demon possession. It's a very real concern, and it is something that everyone can identify. And you can allocate with regard to access that such mentally ill have while their identity is no longer concealed. They don't want that mental illness to be known. But it's very real and it's very readily identifiable. So while you hear that audible activity, it's impossible audible activity. And it's an ongoing admission about what all of the demons are doing and their knowledge about where I'm at. All right, it is currently 6:58 a.m. It is July 25th, 2024. And this is P.O.C. All right, it is currently July 25th, 2024. It's 8:47 a.m. Capturing the specific environment, you're looking at people that are maintaining presence everywhere that I go. And I'm pointing out also where you could see the impossible light activity around those who are demons, who are stalking. They're stalking as an entity. And they're doing it at a business establishment that's very expensive for TOWNPLACE Suites by Marriott. All right, this is terrorism and it's relevant to RICO charges. You're talking about multiple grounds of federal prison while literally just clocking into work to engage in and participate and facilitate, enable a government to conspire against an American citizen, keep them under surveillance, which is a threat to your life. Also, you're looking at the relevant positioning, the state surveillance that's underway inside of the little eating area inside of the hotel. This is where there's ongoing context, and you're also looking at terrorism that's underway by minor children. They're the people of the state utilizing children. The entity is flashing directed light in there. That's the ongoing context where you're looking at them pacing around, looking for food to eat while they're group stalking. Okay, knowing that I'm coming downstairs. This is everything that you're aware of also when you're documenting, exposing the demonic system of federal group stalking and monitoring every step of the way. The entire time I'm inside of the room, every step that I make, walking out, stalking somebody in the elevator, literally on an opposite floor, knowing when I'm coming toward the elevator, using the elevator as a means of audible activity. You've seen the impossible light activity inside of the hotel. You see the fake sun through the window, and the impossible light is flashing all about while I'm capturing that crime scene, which the entity is providing it's evidence against yourself. And the federal government recognizing the terrorism that the state of California, that the government practices, you don't have a legal argument, and apparently you don't intend to have one, and you don't care about the fact that the hallmark that is the direct evidence of criminal surveillance by a government. This is a domestic enemy that's openly engaging in terrorism with and in concert with the people of the state, doing so via directed light under the light source, and with the people of the state who are also utilizing children. That's a threat to your life, and it's also highly psychotic when the entity does so in the circus environment, the engineered flashing light, while they're running around, looking at their phones, chit-chatting, pacing around food, as though they're concerned about eating the continental breakfast provided by TOWNPLACE Suites by Marriott. It's P.O.C. The maintenance of criminal presence, audible activity while the demons are group stalking and terrorizing you, and a fake sun is over the venue, and impossible placement of light is surrounding, and flashing of light also. So I did take a picture of that. You're looking at the iterations of terrorism, and they're also all on surveillance cameras. Both the employees and the demons that are maintaining presence as patrons under the guise of what is nothing other than federal group stalking and monitoring. So I'm going to document license plates, the entity engaging in ongoing harassment. This is the entity that engages in psychotic behavior, and then the more that, again, the mentally ill engage in the pattern of conduct such that they increase that criminal conduct to their own demise. So only a psychopath that's going to face, for example, 5 years in federal prison will engage in more conduct to get 6 and 7 and 10 years in federal prison, as opposed to what a sane person would do. You know what? I've already got 5 years. I'm already looking forward to a prosecution. I mean, this is heavy evidence that perhaps I didn't anticipate, but I don't know which way this is going to go. But it's not looking like it's going in my favor. It will probably behoove me and everyone else that's acting with me. Maybe I should digress. Maybe I should take a seat. Not so with the demon possessed. The entity engages in, as you've seen, more stalking in helicopter, more criminal summoning, more demonic activity with regard to amplification, more beating on the walls, more stalking with noise, which is what I'm subject to. And then you come downstairs and you look at the faces of these demons that are working at a crime scene. That's why they're going to federal prison. That's a threat to your life, and it's also harassment as an entity. Remember, harassment as an entity is no ordinary harassment. The government is harassing you through a population that in and of itself, very serious federal charges, and you literally perhaps do not recognize or appreciate the words that are coming out of my mouth. But when I say you will be prosecuted as a terrorist in the United States for engaging in harassment as an entity is a legally significant phrase. So when you are engaging in harassment as an entity, 8PBD311 P.O.C. You will be attached to a criminal record identified as a terrorist in the U.S. That is going to create humongous obstacles for you going forward if it does not already include federal prison based on the facts and circumstances. The entity is continuously engaging in that. I just want to make sure I point that out. And the entity is doing so to its own demise. Again, this is a target individual who is not overwhelmed with the conduct. That does not make me any less entitled to justice, but you have to have one that is able to stand up and speak to what is going on. And I'm also going to show you how you prosecute it. License 8WBB245. Everything you hear is audible activity, including the demon honking their horn. MYLO heart E. You're dealing with demons that are aware of what you're doing when you're not even physically around them. You're not ignorant about someone's presence when you're going in reverse. You're not ignorant about what's going on. And this is, again, all the ways in which you're learning actually about what's about insurance fraud and all the things that the schemes that Californians engage in, insurance companies engage in, while they're engaging in what is public corruption as I'm exposing it. The demon-possessed know who's around them. You're talking about the fallacy of a car accident. If they're engaging in stalking with audible activity creation, and they know what I'm doing as I'm doing it, 9KEA279. This is the same with regard to those that are honking horns as though they don't know that each other is, it's audible activity creation. Just want to point that out. And again, this is all reasonably construed from the specific environment as well. So I'm just applying logic to what is the demonic environment. Okay? The fake sun is here because, all the demons know that I'm here. AEKA116. License plate 9GZR481. X609DK, the same demons molesting with engineer light, the elderly couple with liver spots. You can see the engineer light in video on their on the black asphalt while they stalk with the entity that stalked in a helicopter and then flies over my head in an airplane. And then these demons in that blue van, they get out of there thinking that they're free to do so. This is what they're doing today. They're going to be crying in federal court tomorrow, okay? And they're engaging in terrorism openly, and they're crossing paths, still monitoring on another day under the fake sun amongst engineer light. But that criminal conduct is captured on video. They are still here, group stalking. 9MCS157, 7NNM804. 8VER917. And remember, the fake sun that's over me now at 8 something in the morning, they were group stalking under the fake sun that was after 6 p.m. in the evening, replete with what is engineer light over the asphalt, acting with open behaviors revealing impunity. Okay? 8NSV462, Arizona, a veteran, okay, a demon-possessed one. 82A as in apple, 9 Robert, 60YR841. Arizona plate ELA55K, that's a veteran, another demon-possessed one. There's no honor amongst these demons, all right? And you're talking about going out and what we're told about why our country is in war with whatever country. These are the things that we're told about, and we actually don't know the facts based on federal group stalking and monitoring. Yes, it is true, based on the fact that the government is engaged in criminal conduct that is anti-American, it's un-American, it's unconstitutional, it's antithetical to what we stand for as a country and as a people and how we represent ourselves internationally. So the fact that we're told certain things by that same entity provides probable cause, meaning you can't believe everything that this government is telling you. They're literally monitoring you. You don't even know it. Okay, we're told these things about why we're at war with whoever we're at war with. These are those that are honored, quote unquote, honored as so-called veterans that are worthy or some noble position. And I do not afford that to them anymore. I've documented many of them threatening my life and terrorizing me in group stalking, and they call themselves veterans. All right, this is causing for a refocus, a recalibration as to what actually is going on. 8DGV190. A demon crossing paths with engineer light, that's impunity, and they're going to be prosecuted as a mentally ill sex offender that they are, openly engaging in terrorism on behalf of the government. You like to engage in terrorism openly, you're going to be prosecuted openly. 9EOD791, license plate 75129Z1, 9KEA759. It's currently 8:55 a.m. JHAM is still here in relevant position. That's the license plate, the white C class. I also want to document the entity that also is aware that it's documented. They engage in things such as, we'll just keep everybody here. I'm just letting you know about the defeated mind state. Nobody's being preserved. Nobody's being protected. You're not helping anybody. The entity's showing impunity. Everything that the government does while it knows that it's being documented. All right, including pacing in the parking lot. So let me show you this. All right, capturing pacing in the parking lot. This is the demon drives in front of me, reverses, not going anywhere, stalking. All right, license plate 875W86, that's a Nevada plate, okay? I just want to be clear, if I didn't have so many people already on the record, that's federal prison. But I have so many, and the federal government, perhaps you've got some federal prisons waiting for you to fill up, you know? I'm mindful of the fact that it's impractical. I find, to lock up all of the thousands of millions of people that have encountered. They've been monitoring me for years. Okay, so it's a crime committed by the entire state. All right, but like I said, above and beyond what I've documented, the justice that I demand, it's up to the federal government. You want to put them in federal prison, I'm definitely not going to offer any rebuttal arguments against that. 9DNZ 583, but that's impunity. License WIL2TRI. License 375WLJ. That's a yellow. That's a white female with a yellow license plate. This is a paper plate on a black Kia Telluride CW06U13. 9LTV356, 7LDL 478, maintaining presence with engineer light, 9LPN 929. They're just pacing through in the parking lot while the fake sun is up in the parking lot. So this is providing context. This is the breaking this false reality. Oh, it's not traffic. They're demons that are pacing, maintaining activity creation. And this is what they're doing while I'm inside of a hotel room. A bunch of demons just circling around me all day, all night. 7AUP665. This is the obsession of Satan, and Satan uses people to do that. All right. This is speaking to the why regarding the public corruption in California. Alrighty, just capturing images of demons getting in and out of their car, demons driving through the parking lot, which is called pacing. And that's what they're doing at Huntington and Myrtle as well. That's demons that are pacing as opposed to traffic. And you know that context because that's not possibly the sun. First of all, it's here all day as I'm capturing it at 6 p.m., after 6 p.m., and as early as 8 o'clock. And also because it's supposedly over my apartment at Alvarado Gardens. And also the Ovid Family Community Library. 9LPN 929, dragging engineer light behind them. License 9LSS 181, 9LDE 860. Remember, this impunity is exactly what Speaker Companies is exhibiting. They're engaged in the same, and let me be clear, they remain a part of the same entity. Just because I left LA, the same entity is group stalking. I happen to be documenting demons in Monrovia, 8RTM 985. That's all that is. In the same way, the LAPD, that terrorist organization, not a legitimate law enforcement agency, which is why they're stalking in helicopters. That's not the conduct within any duty that you have related to being engaged in law enforcement. You're a secret terrorist organization and you've been outed, okay? And that, not only that, your condition, which has all sorts of implications regarding the public safety concern that you pose in that position, not only by group stalking me, which you are necessarily a demon doing so, you're talking about criminal conduct that you're practicing with a whole population in conformity to criminal conduct that I documented in a region far away from you where there's possibly no sun that would be over me at Alvarado Gardens and also over me while Ontario PD is group stalking at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts at the same time, even down to the same day. That's the P.O.C. What demons are doing. This impunity is attributed, this is the same psychotic behavioral pattern, the same demonic obsession shared by the entire entity, because this entity engaged in hiring me by a third-party company to practice this level of torment and torture and sexual violence and harassment and terrorism. Everybody's going to federal prison for that. Everybody that's currently sitting at, I believe it is Speaker Companies in Palo Alto, yeah, they're all going to federal prison while they're listening and witnessing me document their criminal conduct while I go to Monrovia, California. 9BPJ924, DH86L15, 9BJL381. And this is another casualty of engaging in criminal conduct with Satan, who does not even like you. Okay? Because Satan that's engaged in group stalking today does not give a two craps about the fact that you're going to federal prison and will not in any way, for any reason, digress from engaging in conduct which is going to further exacerbate the consequences that you're going to suffer as an employer or as a third party whose name I know, or as a third party who engaged in assault and battery as an entity, or as an entity that engaged in stalking using helicopters in concert with this entity. The entity doesn't care. They're engaging in criminal conduct. They're out here group stalking, satisfying the demon that's in them, motivating this criminal activity. They're not thinking about, oh man, you know, my homegirl that's group stalking, she was, let me not, because this is the reality of engaging in a conspiracy with each other, just like any other bank robbery. The two of them, however many are there, the whole group's going down for what you did together. It's reasonably foreseeable regarding that if there's, well, based on the nature of the crime, that which is occurring is reasonably foreseeable. Within that analysis, you're going to be prosecuted for it. That which is reasonably foreseeable to precipitate, from the crime which you sought to engage in together, paraphrasing, okay, the legal standard. You're talking about surveillance by the state. Up to and including murder is reasonably foreseeable to result from engaging in criminal surveillance of an American citizen. And in California, and what you're looking at everyday life, so-called everyday life in free society in America, there's this anonymity. Oh, we don't know who killed him. We have to have an investigation. Then the demons that are group stalking, calling themselves police departments, are the ones assigned to the case to investigate, to conduct an autopsy. And they all know what actually happened. They're all a part of the same entity. All right, this is not a conspiracy theory. This is supported by what is the evidence of the P.O.C. So like I said, while you are perhaps persuading yourself that you're not doing anything so terrible because you're just driving by with engineer light under a fake sun, in other words, participating in what is a terrorizing act, period, in the crime scene, let me provide some translation for you. It is the basis for federal prison, first of all. I just want to point that out. But beyond that, the entity, you are under no circumstances engaging in anything that is minor or small or in anything that is of no consequence at that. What the entity does together, any and every aspect. And it's a matter of what is a psychotic pattern of conduct that a whole population practices together. That's a demon stalking with noise while I'm using my hands and communicating. All right, stalking with audible activity. That's what they're doing while my genitalia is exposed. Stalking with audible activity creation while demons maintain surveillance inside of a hotel room. Just want to point that out to you. So the entity is engaging in that, and many of the demon possessed are convincing themselves that they're not doing something. They're not doing anything too wrong. I'm just driving by. I'm not touching her. I'm not talking to her. You are engaged in every form, every method of egregious conduct and helping the government engage in. And it is criminal activity which is serving to, in the conspiracy to remove from existence an American citizen who has a right to not be subject to surveillance. Why else do you engage in surveillance as a government secretly in the U.S.? It's not for funsies. And they don't just stop and give up for no reason out of nowhere and go on to the next person. That's not what group stalking is for. Okay, and this is how you have things such as damaging personal property, such as kidnapping in jails, manufacturing charges, making it up. When you're a group stalking police department and you're engaged, and that's already a matter of evidence, okay? The entity is engaging in criminal summoning right now, and they're going to federal prison. License 6STU 721. That's a red Camry. That's a male. He's crossing paths, stalking, and so is Athens Services. That's Athens Services, commercially. I'm going to prosecute civilly and criminally. The entity is engaged in criminal summoning under a fake sun, just like you saw the demons of Arcadia Fire Department, letting you know what's wrong with every single last one of those demons wearing fire department uniforms, letting you know what's wrong with the demons of the Ontario Fire Department. There's no sun that's going to be over me here, seen over what is Huntington and Myrtle, while those demons of Arcadia Fire Department are crossing paths, wanting me to stop talking about what I'm talking about, showing that they're engaged in Title 18 criminal activity, which is serving to federally prosecute everybody inside of the business. Let me get license 8X36438. That's the Athens Services dumpster truck that is group stalking. All right, the entity is engaging in that which is worthy of federal prison while they engage in criminal summoning. Those are demons stalking using police vehicles, demons stalking using fire trucks, demons stalking driving ambulances. Okay, they're not doing anything other than stalking. All right, again, occurring under what is supposedly the malicious guise of some sort of execution of their duty. No, it's not a part of your duty at any time ever to engage in group stalking maliciously while you are satiating your demonic desire to target someone for no legitimate reason whatsoever. All right, and the evidence of your demon possession is shown through your literal operation of that emergency vehicle. And that criminal misuse of such emergency vehicles remains legally relevant for prosecution of these departments, for prosecution of the state, civilly and criminally as well. It's massive facilitation, a threat, an ongoing perpetrated threat against the life of an American citizen. Because they are listening to me speak to the fact that federal group stalking and monitoring is an ongoing conspiracy to murder and or kidnap an American citizen whom you are criminally placing under surveillance. That's the reason why you do that. Okay, the entity engages in this pattern of conduct in order to permanently rob you of your reputation. For example, criminal defamation. When you are group stalking an attorney and kidnapping an attorney, and you know very well if I open my mouth and represent myself in court, would you refrain from allowing me to even be present while you claim that you were holding court hearings, while you claim that such and such occurred during this court hearing and I never even went to court? They only drove me from the jail to the court so that I would be seen on camera leaving the jail, and I never entered a courtroom, while you're keeping me in a uniform that would falsely depict me as suffering from a mental illness for the purposes of facilitating your ongoing act to kidnap as an entity. That's the entity that's out here group stalking, sounding sirens. wanting to appear as lawful, legitimate sheriff's departments and police departments and ambulances, abusing the Welfare and Institutions Code, and they're acting with the people of the state who are surrounding you, engaging in surveillance using communication devices as well, while they're engaging in what is present in the path. And you are lying to yourself, telling yourself that you're not doing anything of any great consequence because you're just driving by the targeted individual. Not only will you burn in hell if you do not repent, because this is the work of Satan, you are going to federal prison if I catch you. You're going to federal prison. So the entity is engaging in conduct which is in every regard a threat to your life, moment by moment. Okay, engaging in criminal summoning, and they're going to federal prison. They're going to be documented at third-party facilitating venue Taco Bell, which, by the way, is right next to TOWNPLACE. You talk about everybody at work at Taco Bell, federal prison. Very easy to prosecute. Very easy to identify. License 5ZXM 212. By virtue of the presence of the specific environment, you're recognizing the malice of the system. You're recognizing the structure whereby you are maintaining the demonic elements of monitoring, and any psychopath that gets off on terrorizing and tormenting someone, and you don't even have to speak to them and know them. You can just get your rocks off by engaging in a little bit of demonic activity here and there, and then you go on to your yoga class, sitting in a drive-through, group stalking somebody, thinking you're doing it anonymously, doing so threatening a life of an American citizen, acting in an ongoing conspiracy to murder and or kidnap them while you're group stalking with the state. That's federal prison right there. As easy as it is for them to engage in terrorism, it should be that easy to catch serious time in federal prison, because that's what justice requires. It's no small thing whatsoever, and the entity is consistently engaging in it. It's no small thing to stalk with audible activity creation. You're monitoring. You are the government monitoring. And you're aiding a government that intends to murder and or kidnap someone. It is no small thing, and it is in service to Satan. I will not mince words with that. So the entity is doing so with real-time knowledge of the fact that it's being documented. And I want to show you the presence of the fake sun, again, over TOWNPLACE Suites by Marriott at what is 9 o'clock in the morning. Do not forget where the fake sun is, as I documented the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department time and time and time again, as I documented the entity group stalking by virtue of the group stalker Universal Waste and the people of the state of Alvarado Gardens, using 903 in particular, if you'll recall the documentation. March 22nd, 2022, Los Angeles Sheriff's Department is group stalking under a fake sun in Pomona, California. It's 9:08 right now, 5 minutes. This is a negligible difference. The fake sun is nowhere near Alvarado Gardens, nowhere near Pomona, nowhere, meaning the Metro Cafe that's outside of the Pomona Transit Center, after I got on Route 61 that day. And I went on a specific route, and that fake sun remained in perfect alignment with me. The Montclair Police Department never would have been able to cross path under it if it was not remaining perfectly over my head while I'm on Route 61 going toward Pomona, as is clearly recorded as a matter of record on March 22nd, 2022. I used Alvarado Gardens many, many times to document and expose what is federal group stalking and monitoring. Demons group stalking. So now you have a fake sun that is over TOWNPLACE Suites by Marriott. All right, we're group stalkers, license 36572S1. All right, driving in a commercial vehicle and doing so, I believe they look like landscapers. If they're not natural-born citizens, again, you got another group that's going to be deported right up out of this country. The entity is doing so under a fake sun that's over TOWNPLACE Suites by Marriott, and nowhere near Alvarado Gardens, and nowhere near Pomona, California, where you're looking at a fake sun over me, as I'm still capturing that video. The video of the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department is captured at 9:03, and I'm showing you the fake sun. I'm showing you engineer light while those demons are opening and closing doors. And I remained in Pomona on that day, and so did the fake sun, the light source. Okay, where the demon-possessed LA County Fire Department were stalking using their fire trucks, just like you hear stalking now. That's not an emergency. That's called stalking. That's a demon using an emergency vehicle, relevant for what is that? Criminal prosecution. Removing the demon-possessed from the government areas where they're hiding, engaging in a secret system of terrorism. All right, so they're doing so, and I want to make sure I capture this. It's 9:10 a.m. Let me show you this fake sun right now over TOWNPLACE Suites by Marriott. And as you'll recall, what I documented on July 22nd, 2024, that was just days ago, where you captured the specific environment, you only have to capture it once. The fake sun is the fake sun. It will not become the natural environment the next day. No one forgets the evidence that remains on the record. You don't get to forget it and start all over again. That's not how the natural environment operates. This is in conformity to a well-documented P.O.C. I've already laid the foundation. The fake sun is still seen through the window of the same apartment building on the same side after 6 p.m., which I documented. And it's 9 o'clock, and the fake sun, by the way, is not over. That's not the sun that's over a sheriff's department.
that are engaging in terrorism and secretly doing so, bearing badges, and also letting the world know what the demon-possessed look like and where they're hiding amongst the government in California, keeping American citizens under surveillance, acting pursuant to the same conspiracy to murder and kidnap an American citizen that they are keeping under surveillance through demonic means. They were opening and closing their doors while engineered light was ricocheting all over the place, right? Like the demons that are driving by me at the Social Security office, like the demons that are driving by me at Alvarado Gardens, like the demons that are driving by me at the Glendale DMV. An impossible occurrence, but you have a pattern of it happening, like the demons driving by 1826 Lobdell Place. An impossible occurrence, yet you've got a pattern of a phenomenon happening over and over and over again. Okay, so I'm going to capture that light source, and you're going to remember the specific environment. The entity is doing so while you're also recognizing all the aspects of the P.O.C. They're sex offenders that are overly consumed. You shouldn't be consumed at all. But since you're so consumed about my genitalia, since you're so consumed about what my nude body looks like, you want to watch me on cameras. That's not going to be a secret. That's a part of your federal prosecution. You are not acting as individuals. You are acting with the government that's engaged in an ongoing conspiracy to murder and or kidnap someone. And it is an inherent sex offense. That's what you're participating in every time you want to cross path. Lying to yourself, like Satan is lying to you, as though you're doing nothing, as though it's small and remedial. It's meaningless. It's not that great of a consequence. It's not that evil. It's not that terrible. Okay, so the entity, and let me be clear, your criminal record is going to tell you the truth. You can lie to yourself all you want, but your criminal record is going to wake you up, because that's a lie. All right, so the entity is engaging in the maintenance of this light source. Let me get this light source right now. It's currently 9:12 a.m. And this is P.O.C.